I really did think that Hilda was finished after that Mountain King movie. There was a really long pause, and I figured that might have just closed things out. After all, streaming shows can disappear in a flash. But streaming shows can also return after years-long breaks, and that is basically how Hilda has been operating for a while now. Out of the blue, there was a whole new season of Hilda that went ahead and aged its characters for the first time, giving them slightly more serious adventures to match, and out of the bluer, this new season caps itself off with what is essentially a movie. And since it feels like Hilda may actually be finished now, I would like to talk about the most recent season and where it leaves the show's legacy. If you're new to this whole thing, Hilda is a show. It's based on some graphic novels, and it's about a girl and her friends going on adventures in a magical world, which is just, that's an ancient story setup, right? In fact, the Odyssey has basically the same premise. And along the way, the show has been more than willing to change up the status quo, which is not common in kids' animation, or at least it really wasn't until Adventure Time and Steven Universe showed up. The most recent season changes quite a few things, but the most noticeable is that Hilda and her buds are taller and more mature. The most obvious point of comparison would be the Rugrats All Growed Up / All Grown Up special and spin-off, though the time jump here is nowhere near as drastic. Now, obviously, even after the time jump, I am still not in this show's target audience, but I also don't think that the show ever feels exclusionary, or it never feels too young either. Kind of like Hilda herself, the show Hilda is just open-minded and accepting. And of course, the plot lines, the character designs, and the execution are just generally appealing. It is a magical world that continues to introduce new creatures and environments, but it completely avoids getting caught up in lore, which is a big pet peeve of mine. I don't want to talk about the specifics of each episode for this season, but overall, fairies are the big through line of the season, and the final episode / movie closes out the topic really well. And without spoiling, the last few minutes of the final episode feel like a highly concentrated attempt to summarize the previous seasons and tie up a bunch of loose ends. And on the topic of changes to the status quo, you get the sense that the entire world of the show is now fundamentally changed. And if this is indeed the last we're going to see of Hilda, I would be sad, sure, but at the same time, I continue to feel that this show is already the best version of itself. If this show was an adaptation of something that I had created, I don't think I could be any happier with it. Like, these teams have a very specific sense of the show's identity, and while the specifics of the show have changed plenty throughout the years, the identity and the tone of the show have remained extremely focused. Somehow, Hilda, the show, not the character, has become even more confident and capable with time. And if you're wondering, the character Hilda has always been confident and capable, so there's not much change there. It makes me think of going to a concert. I don't do that much anymore, but I used to, and whether or not you like the music, you just know. There are certain concerts where you just know the group, the band has a great sense of what it's about. It's just a bunch of really skilled players, and they're playing as well as they possibly can. And that's it. The show ends and nothing was held back. It just works. They did their best and they're gone. It is possible that the show will come back, but in a rare twist, it really doesn't need to. Hilda, as a show, has said its piece. It's gonna hold up really well over time, and I assume it's going to remain accessible for years to come, unless Netflix starts pulling a Warner and striking stuff off of their streaming services and everywhere else. I absolutely recommend the show to families and animation fans. The most recent season is definitely for slightly older kids, but that's the only real restriction. Just bits here and there might be a little bit too scary for younger kids. And that's what I have for you today. Sort of fingers crossed that we get a little bit more, maybe just another movie in 2 or 3 years. I would enjoy that. But again, it's okay. It's okay if it goes away. It's all right. It's really done some incredible work in the time that it's been around. And that's all for now. Thanks for stopping by.